Assalamu alaikum, Habibis. Welcome to the UK's number one halal political channel. I'm going to be talking about today the phenomenon of Muslims, some of the most conservative people living in Britain, voting for one of the most liberal, pro degenerate parties in Britain, and why this relationship works. Why Muslims vote for the Green Party. If you didn't know who I was on about by the Liberal Party, pretty sure you all got that one. But yeah, we'll be looking into the mechanisms of what make them actually vote for a party that seems so fundamentally disaligned to core Islamic principles. Now, we'll start off with this WhatsApp chat that Muslim Bro was having. Some very prime UK aesthetics on your screen right now. And
Yeah,
this is
if
a
you
good kind of segue
exactly. I mean,
into the
if you
points we'll
remember,
make.
sorry to cut you off, Christian, but I was going to say, if you
Yeah, no
remember
stress.
when I messaged you about this, and at the same time I was walking through the streets, and there was just like two black people having a fight and punching each other. Very UK aesthetic moment.
I'll add in as well, when I messaged you, I was in a Sainsbury's and I was witnessing all the Indian shopkeepers trying to stop a black guy stealing from them. So, we're very entrenched in the UKification of it all, of this. But anyway, proceed.
Awesome. I forgot about the Sainsbury's thing. By the way, me and you have so many anecdotes of like UK moments. I think we could even make a whole video on that if people would want to see it and laugh. But anyway, to give a little bit of context about this chat, they basically this brother in this local Muslim community chat, and he sent a message saying, guys, these are the list of people who you should be voting for in these parties and these constituencies where there's a lot of Muslim communities, right? Or a high percentage of Muslims in these communities. And basically before this as well, they were telling, look, tell your parents, tell your uncles, tell your aunties, even tell people in your local mosque to vote for these people. And I was thinking to myself, well, hold on a second, why is it every person they put on this list from the Green Party? This is ridiculous. I was like, yeah, sure, go vote for a party that legalizes all that is haram. Haram, by the way, because of the definition, I'll explain that in the next slide. It basically means sinful. And still Zio backed. Now, again, we don't have to have a whole long discussion about whether the Green Party is actually, against the system and against Zionism, blah, 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 blah. But I think they kind of still are Zio backed. Anyway, the guy said they are quite openly anti-Zionist, or at least looking to sanction the state of Israel, which I think this is a good segue into the points you wanted to make, Christian, bro. This seems to be the only thing that the Muslims care about. That a party is against Zionism and would give them more benefits. They don't actually care about the state of the UK.
No, they don't. And that's the fact. Like, he didn't care, right, that you pointed out that they were haram, right? He didn't care that he was pointing out the fact that the Greens are genuinely willing to legalize drugs and prostitution. And I'm a Muslim, but I'm pretty sure I know that that's forbidden, sinful. It's not Islamic, right? It's because Muslims care about the Muslim voting bloc in this country cares about two things. And I think these are two things that we agree on here as to what they care about: Palestine and welfare. And both of these are things that the Greens are willing to deliver upon. It's a very simple way of understanding Muslims. Now, we've made other videos on this channel, but the Muslims aren't the Muslim community in this country isn't necessarily looking to just take over the country, right? We've kind of dispelled that myth. What the Muslim community in this country do care about, however, is Palestine. And what they also care about is that the state funds their 7 kids per household, right? They're not here to work or better lives. They're here to collect a welfare check, most of them, right? And which is the party that's willing to do that? The Green Party. And this is the best way of actually understanding the Muslim community, right? We need to kind of move out of the frame of this kind of conspiratorial, they're here to take over. When they will take over because we aren't having enough kids, but that's not their design, right? They're just here to collect a check, maybe if they can, pull some sway on Palestine, but that's it.
I agree. And this is a part that really annoys me, by the way. And I'm just need to clarify here. I'm not a self-hating Muslim, in case anybody is silly enough to think that. But what really annoys me is that these people are in the UK, they're in Great Britain, and they're not voting based on what they think would benefit the land, benefit the country, benefit their neighbors. What they care most about is a foreign country. Okay, that's fine. I care for Palestine a lot. I have very, very good friends that are Palestinian, and I love them very, very dearly. And obviously, it's a movement that is close to my heart. However, if you're voting on the basis of a foreign country, well, why don't you just go back to your country and make sure that they back up Palestine and do something about it? You know, if you go back to a Muslim country, they're more likely, if you were to pressure them, send a military into Israel, potentially. I'm not saying they would, but I'm just saying they're more likely to do so than the UK. If you care so much about money and welfare, then yes, of course you're going to vote on that basis in the UK. You're not voting on anything that actually benefits this country. Now, again, I know you're probably not Muslim watching this, so you don't necessarily care about the points I'm making. But like Christian Bro said, you shouldn't look at the Muslim population and think these are sinister, high IQ kind of, scheming plotters that are trying to unroot British society so they can take over and play Sharia law. Give them the check at the end of the month. Give them the universal credit. Make sure Palestine is somewhat mentioned and somewhat fought for, and the state of Israel is told to be bad people, and you give them a slap on the wrist. And they'll be happy. That's it. So that's why they're willing to put up with legalizing drugs, prostitution, a degenerate society. For those two things. Yeah, those are my points.
Because they know as well. Because they know as well that they'll keep their communities free of that stuff. Because we're basically moving into that state of affairs anyway, when you have essentially segregated off Muslim communities and native communities and black communities anyway, right? Balkanization is slowly creeping in. So these Muslim communities know that like they're able to police these things out, right? Yes, under the Green Party, prostitution would be legal. But do you really think the people living in Whitechapel would let that slide for a second, right? You see anyone trying to be a prostitute in Whitechapel, they'd get kicked out, or well, maybe other things would happen to them. You know how they get down around there. But my point being is they know that they can just police these things out, right? They'll get rid of that from themselves. And this also needs to pivot into my next point as why it's redundant for the right to ever think that they can get this lot voting for them. They won't get them voting for them because the right is either too attached to Israel, or the right is not willing to concede on giving benefits to them, right? Or worse, for them, deport them. It's just redundant. The only way you gain the Muslim vote as a right-wing party is essentially just betraying all your principles in the first place. They are essentially, like any ethnic community in this country, an invasive group and must be treated as such, right? There's no point appealing to them. That any right-wing party shouldn't appeal to Muslims, shouldn't appeal to Indians, they shouldn't appeal to anyone besides the British people.
Yes, and a final point on that, Christian Bro, that I think is really pertinent. This is why when me and you made a video reacting to the agenda and the policies that Restore Britain want to enact, banning halal kosher meat, banning the hijab, banning the niqab will have no effect whatsoever. It won't. As long as they get their check-in at the end of the month, they're staying. So that's what you need to remove. That, like, if you kept halal meat, if you kept all of this stuff, like, you'd have more of an asymmetric effect, completely removing benefits and being really strict on who they're allowed to bring in as family members or whatever. That would allow more remigration than any policy against Sharia law, against Islamic practices, because fundamentally, that's what they're here for. And like Christian Bro said, a right-wing party should focus on that rather than trying to talk about all these societal things, because it's not a societal issue necessarily. It's purely an economic and foreign political issue. That's it.
So yeah, I hope this helps you at least understand the Muslim community in Britain a bit better, right? It's not as if Abdul and the other Uber drivers are secretly plotting in the mosque how to overthrow the government, right? It's far less, glamorous and film-like than that. All they are doing is they are doing their minimum wage job, maybe collecting a welfare check, having 5 times more kids as a native Brit, and getting by on that. And they will vote for the party that offers to upkeep those interests. Okay? That's why Muslims are willing to vote for the degenerate Green Party. And as I said, I hope this makes anyone on the right understand the Islamic communities in Britain a bit better and how it actually fits into broader political campaigning and such.
Thank you very much for watching. God bless you all. Love to hear your thoughts below. And try not to just be low IQ bigots for the sake of being low IQ bigots, but it'll be very useful to give us your perspective on even why you think the Muslims might be voting for the Green Party, but also what you think the right wing should do to make sure that the Green Party don't end up amassing loads of Muslim votes for no reason. But anyway, take care of yourselves. God bless. Speak to you soon. And thank you very much for watching.